Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning to our guest speaker. First of all, I would like to thank our guest speaker for accepting the invitation. So our center initiated like a seminar series, AI Good for Education. So before we start, I would like to introduce our guest speaker. His name Cyrus Shirazian, and he's an AI consultant. He has a decade of experience. Basically, he was working in the helping leaders to leverage AI with the growth of the business. He was working on the implementation. He was working how to make that in an excellent way. So he has really, I would say, an extensive experience in this domain. Cyrus, he graduated, he holds a master's degree from University of Waterloo at Canada. And University of Waterloo is one of the top universities in Canada. He's currently doing MPA in AI, I think from Swiss School of Business Management. So thank you so much, Cyrus. So the floor is yours. Audience, my colleagues, faculty here, instructors, please try to be sure that you are muted. Whenever you have a question, either you can post it in the chat, or at the end of the session, we have about 15 minutes for question and answers. So thank you so much for everyone. And Cyrus, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Say. Thank you for introduction, and thank you for inviting me and for a nice introduction. Great to be here. It's my first time. I'm based out of New York City, and I do a lot of these works in North America and in Europe. So it's my first time doing it in, I guess, based out of Dubai, UAE. So great to be here, and yeah, excited to kick this off. I put together a few slides just to talk about some quick wins. I feel like always when it comes to AI, there's a lot out there, and with any kind of audience I come across, like there's so much. So I just want kind of like to distill it down to some real use cases that other institutions are leveraging when it comes to AI, and then hopefully be the for you guys to get some inspiration for yourself, and some thoughts and best practices on how you could go about and implementing this into your organization, right? So I prepared a few slides, like I mentioned, so I'm going to go through them, talk through them, and then at the end, we're going to have like 10-15 minutes for any questions you may have, okay? All right, let me put this in Spotlight. Well, I mean, introduction, you mentioned basically a lot of things about me. I kind of like position myself consulting, but also I build AI. So I have a newsletter that's about AI, and it's fully automated with AI agents essentially going out and doing a whole bunch of research and basically publishing my newsletter on a daily and weekly basis. So I both consult and build AI. I'm an engineer, so I'm pretty hands-on when it comes to it. Really like specializing in helping business leaders when it comes to like leveraging AI into their operations. Been working for about a decade, like you mentioned, for different kinds of organizations, Fortune 500, Walmart, and also startups and small businesses, right? So like you mentioned, education and everything else. Yeah, I also have a podcast. It's called PM Hub, and I bring like thought leaders when it comes to AI, and we talk about different topics about AI advancements and the latest trends and the topics that are not usually spoken about. So yes, that's also another part of like the work that I do. But without further ado, I wanted to jump in and talk about a few top key trends that I'm seeing in the world of AI when it comes to education, and talk about each of them. I pulled some stats, and so we're just going to like talk through every single one of them. So the first one is that what AI has been enabling the education industry is really improving the learning outcomes. So I put some stats. For example, there are some tutoring systems out there that can actually boost the exam scores by about 62%. And students that actually leverage these tools, they actually, some 70% 3% of them, they report that they can actually understand this better. I can attest to it right now. I'm doing my MBA in AI, and I use AI in my learning experience as well, which is amazing. So this is certainly something that's coming up top of the charts, that's making it a lot more accessible in that sense. Retention, that's another challenge, especially in North America, maybe. But like students all over the place, you can leverage AI for prediction. That's like a classic use case of AI is prediction analysis. And to really help students kind of avoid risk of failing. And this stat that I pulled, some 34,000 students were kind of able to benefit from AI to help them kind of like not fail their course, right? A few cases at Georgia State University, one of them which in macroeconomic course, Georgia State, students actually were able to leverage AI chatbots. They actually were less likely by 38% to drop out of the course, right? And also St. Pal students, they use AI chatbots, were 29% less likely to earn a D or F in an American government course at Georgia State, right? So it is really helping out with this big problem of retention of the students and dropping out from the courses. And the third one is about for graduation rates itself, right? So experts predict that AI could actually potentially increase graduation by about 43%, which is huge. Some 63% of students say that AI allows them to study more efficiently. And obviously, when it comes to, the enhancing the process of the whole educational literature and the course design, AI has massive potential as well, right? So these were like a top 3 trends that are latest in the industry that's happening: improved learning outcome, retention, and eventually graduation rates. Now, I want to jump into talk about a few of the quick wins, if you will, when it comes to AI and when it comes to education. The first one is about intelligent tutoring systems. And this is very exciting. This is super exciting. So the first one that I want to touch base into is essentially personalized learning, right? So imagine AI-powered tutoring systems that actually are about to adapt the lessons and the feedback for each student's unique need and pace. Like it's just not one course is actually personalized, right? So that's like something that's like super revolutionary from my standpoint. The other point is about 24/7 availability. I've had situations myself where, I was taking a course and I needed access to the prof or like the TA or somebody else, and they were just not available, right? For whatever reason, right? So AI, these intelligent tutoring systems actually can come in and they can personalize the learning process, right? And so that's super important, especially if you're like studying for an exam and then you just need some last minute support when it comes to your studies, essentially, right? And then the last one is about scalability, right? So, and actually, when it comes to scalability, we're talking about access, the amount of access technology, and then ability for us to kind of like educate more of the society itself. And then the cost that actually has implications on the people actually have to pay, the students actually have to pay for tuitions, but also profs, and then a lot of like manual stuff that's coming along with it, right? So this is one of like the coolest ones that I'm seeing happening quite a bit. I have some use cases in a few slides that I'm going to actually talk through, but this is the first quick one that I want to talk about. The second one is about the curriculum personalization itself. Now, look, we're talking about, okay, well, I'm a student. I want to just have a personalized education setup. Now, this one is about the whole curriculum itself, right? So we're just talking about the whole design of the curriculum itself, which I know probably some or most of you will find it very exciting. So imagine adaptive pathways that actually AI can come in and they can tailor some learning pathways for each student's strengths, weakness, and progress. I've had friends when I was in school where they were like just like realizing way, way late, like year 2 or 3 or whatever, like the last year of graduation, hey, that this major is not for me, for example, right? Myself, I'm a chemical engineer by background, and I just realized that down the line after I got my degree that, hey, like I just don't, I'm just realizing that it was too late, that I don't really want to spend my career doing it, right? So imagine if like an adaptive pathway was there for me, I can actually kind of guide me through the process for the right curriculum, I would be a lot more effective in my profession, and then just, wasted a whole bunch of time and money as well, and being probably like not a little bit later into the game, right? So that's a really big one. The other part is about the skill gap analysis, right? So what we can think about here is about, okay, well, here's where I'm at any, it could be continuous feedback essentially. Here are the outcome potentials of the course itself that I need to get to, and then here are the gaps. So imagine if I had that gap analysis. This is where you are, this is where you need to be. That's almost like the perfect scenario to make sure that I'm on the track for my studies, right? So that curriculum personalization would be able to do the skill gap analysis for me, can actually help me with this targeted learning itself. And the last one is about the data-driven insights, and that's actually AI. So AI in a nutshell, like it's data at scale, right? So there's a lot of data, and so we can harness that data to get insights, right? So analytics about like, okay, well, the students we started somewhere, and then we kind of personalize the curriculum. Now we want to go ahead and kind of get some feedback to optimize it. So it's like a never-ending loop that it starts from somewhere and it keeps getting better, right? It's not stagnant like a typical software that you kind of build. AI keeps the feedback loop on, and it keeps improving on itself, right? So it's just like never say never. So you start from somewhere, you can actually start to build on top of it, right? So this was about the curriculum personalization, quick win. The other one is about the automated grading and feedback. So this is, I was a teaching assistant when I was at Waterloo, and I remember this pain dearly myself. I'm pretty sure any prof or a TA that are going through this is like one of the most painful pieces that I always kind of like ask myself, like, how could I waste my time so much and kind of like doing all these, bits and pieces to go ahead and kind of like grade. There must be a better way. And here it is. AI is enabling some help in that as well, right? So time saving, massive time saving, some routine tasks, right? So we're not talking about, and I think I should point this out tangentially, that we're not talking about replacing human. We're talking about augmenting and co-piloting, enabling us as humans and experts to focus on higher level tasks, right? So essentially freeing up the teacher's time to do like what they like to. Like my brother he's a university prof, and then he hates this part. He's like, I wish I could just completely like farm this out somebody else so I can focus on research, right? So I know this firsthand that this is like super helpful for profs and potentially the TAs as well, right? Consistent feedback. So AI generated feedback, like I mentioned, we can happen just in time feedback. So it's like as you need it, when you need it, it's right there. It's detailed, it's action oriented, and it's unbiased, right? So I think it's very important piece to point out that this gradings and the bias that goes into it, that's something that potentially AI can help remove essentially, right? Because it's basically an alternate intelligence, right? And then the last one is about the actionable insights themselves, right? So let's say you get the grading and feedback, and then it can provide you as a teacher and prof with data-driven insights again to improve your instructional practices, right? So that could completely kind of like the whole loop of kind of like teaching, design the curriculum for students, give feedback, leveraging AI, and for yourself for automated grading and feedback, right? So it's all kind of like any area of your kind of like design of a teaching throughout the way, AI and data can actually come in and help improve the process. The other ones, like obviously chatbots. I've got one or two use cases like this down. I think Georgia State University leveraged this, but chatbots for student support, right? Like we talked about it. They're out there, they're available, and instant support and for common questions, right? Now there's like limits and levels to what level of chatbot support are we going to enable, which we're going to get into in a bit. But this to me is like a huge unlock. And personalized, like we talked about it, right? Responses, imagine it knows the chat history, talk with about it. Hey, you know what? You asked about this question in the past. Now AI remembers that because it has context and awareness, and it can give you continuous, relevant, insights and support as you need it, right? So to me, that's like a big game changer. Kind of like imagine like a student, like a buddy, like a chatbot buddy that can come in and help you throughout the process with you, right? And obviously, scalable, let's talk about it, like, to help the staff free up for some more complex issues. The last one, this is big in North America, accessibility and inclusion, very diverse here, obviously. So one of the use cases, transcription. We obviously automatically generate transcripts of educational content, improving accessibility for students with hearing impairments, right? So we can enable them as well in that sense to be able to have a fair and equitable access to education. Second, obviously text to speech. Actually built something recently on this that's like a two-way chatbot, and essentially would be a text-to-speech tool that kind of read the content loud and kind of like let the students who have visual or learning disabilities to learn in a different modality, essentially, right? And that is a huge unlock to enable everybody to learn, essentially. And obviously personalized format. I'm more of a visual person. Somebody might be more of, hey, I just want to read the text itself, right? So this would really also help not only be students with disability, but also for like different learning styles, right? So yeah, so these are a couple of the quick wins that I pulled together. Now let's talk about a couple of the real world applications and case studies I looked up and talked through them. Just want to check on the time. All right, I think we're doing good on the time. So the first one, this is about Carnegie Mellon University. So they launched this AI-powered writing tutor. So essentially what it would do is that it would provide real-time feedback and personalized guidance to help the students improve their writing skills, right? So again, it's not writing for them, it's kind of helping them to become better writers, right? So, and that's like a huge unlock. Again, 1 second, sorry. So that's like the first case that I'm gonna jump into in a sec. Let me check actually my chat real quick. Yes, there. So that was about the Carnegie Mellon. We're gonna get into it in the next slide. The one after that I want to talk about is let's see, the Georgia State University chatbot. So this was an AI chatbot for student support. This is one of those 24/7 virtual assistants that would answer common questions and would direct the students to different campus resources. I'm not sure about you guys. I haven't checked out university's website, but none of my experiences has been like delightful just going through the resources section of any university's website. It's like full of content. It's like links within links within links within links. It's very confusing. Now imagine this AI can come in and help kind of give you direct link to the resources, right? And also provide emotional support, which I think this is very important. This is probably like one of the ones that maybe not as focus on, but to me, that's like one of the biggest ones to get the emotional support that you need as you're going through the studies, right? And then the last one that I'm going to talk in a few slides is a learning platform. It's called Third Space. They have developed this AI-assisted math tutor, and it's an online platform that uses machine learning to adapt the lessons. Like this is about the curriculum design and provide individualized feedback to help the students master complex math concepts, right? So these are the 3 case studies that we're gonna get into in a few slides. Let me just quickly check my chat. AI tools that we use both real life. Yes, we'll get to the questions towards the end. Okay, Samira, I'll get to it right towards the end. Let's see here. Okay. So the first one, the Carnegie Mellon University's AI-powered writing tutor, right? So what they did was 2 profs, Ishizaki and Kaffer, they developed this prototype. It's a software tool to support the students in strengthening their writing skills with the AI-powered assistants, right? That's what we just talked about. And what's really cool about this is that these are kind of the faculty within the university themselves that developed this prototype, right? What happened was essentially they piloted this over 10 courses to test the tool's effectiveness in supporting student writing development. And help the students with organizing ideas and structuring sentences, right? So this kind of like the areas that kind of like can come in and define how should the AI come in and help a student with specific use cases and needs for them, right? So we give them intelligent suggestion and feedback, right? I wasn't able to find the actual demo of the tool, but there are these resources actually are there online. I'm sure we can find more details. And what it does actually is facilitates deeper engagements with the course content, right? So what it does actually gives real-time guidance and analysis as the student is writing to organize their thoughts and kind of like helping them throughout the whole process of that, right? So to me, that's like takes the whole writing to the next level because it's just in time and real time. And offered personalized AI-powered feedback, right? So that's like the end level of any AI, right? That comes in, helps you out, gives you feedback, and then you can give it feedback, right? So that's it, like a first case, first use case that the Carnegie Mellon University launched for this AI-powered writing tool. The other one is the Georgia State University. They developed this AI chatbot for student support. This is like one of the other ones that we talked about a few slides in the past. And what they did was they developed this chatbot called Pounce. And what it does actually helps the incoming students navigate registration and academic resources, right? I've been in, I have 2 degrees and underwork to the third one. It's been always a pain for me to go through this whole process. So this tool actually exactly does that. And also like, frees up time for the admin staff so you can focus on something that's like more useful probably. So what they did was essentially it showed what the results chatbot that it improved in student retentions and academic performance, right? So I remember a few times, at least once, where I needed to apply for a specific scholarship in university, and I forgot 2 deadlines because I was just so busy with studying. Now imagine a tool like this can come in and kind of like give me that personalized support. Hey, Cyrus, you need to apply for this. The deadline is end of the month, and so just don't forget that, right? So this is like a huge unlock for me as a student to get from a chatbot. The other one is about the proactive text message assistance, right? So what it does is it alerts the students about any upcoming assignments, right? Financial aid deadline, that's what I talked about, and any campus resources to keep them on track, right? So you don't have to just spend like, I don't know, scrolling for, I don't know, hours and hours to try to stay up to date about what's going on the campus. Supporting student in critical tasks. So what it does actually, there are, I'm not sure how it's like in UAE, but like here, if you want to apply for like this one called the FAFSA, is like a sort of a scholarship student aid application. It's very confusing. It's very confusing. It's very cumbersome, and it's very like it's just like so annoying, right? So what it does actually, it would help them throughout the process of filing these long applications to apply for like different scholarships if you want, right? So that to me again is another huge lot. And they've done independent research on it, and obviously, not surprisingly, they found it to be very useful for the students. The third use case that we're gonna get into, it's about the third space learning's AI assisted math tutoring. So that's like they're like I mentioned, like a platform that what they do is they combine online resources and personalized one-on-one tutoring from the specialist, right? So I mean, I think like I'm good at math myself. I'm an engineer, but it's math. It could just get very complex, very easily, very fast, right? So this would really help the students tailor the learning journeys. Maybe you're good at differentials, but you need to focus on different part of the math, the whole ecosystem itself, right? So what they've done actually, they've developed this very hyper personalized solution that would kind of develop this custom learning journeys for students across the UK and the US, right? And what it does diagnostic assessments, right? So it would go in and then again looks at the gaps of the students where they're kind of like not doing well, and then give them personalized instructions on how they can get better. Real-time feedback, right? Immediate guidance and support to kind of like, hey, I don't have to bang my head against the wall for like 2 hours to solve a math problem. It's real-time feedback. So imagine the efficiency there. It's like mind-blowing. Democratized tutoring, obviously. This is like no matter where you are, you can have access to high quality education. You just don't have to be at the top ranking university. You can go in and kind of have this one-on-one math tutoring from the experts with this AI tool itself, right? And like we talked about it, it's tailored, personalized for students to master math concepts, right? So to me, this was kind of like, these are all just a few use cases. The list was going on when I was doing my research, and I didn't have too much time, honestly. So the use cases are just kind of like coming over and over and over again, and it just keeps getting better and better and better, right? So I spent some time thinking about how it would be like to implement an AI solution at the university for yourself and for your students, right? So overall, the approach when it comes to AI implementation, the approach is similar no matter if you're a government agency or you're non-for-profit or a profit or a university. There are some like unique challenges for each of them, but let me go through a few of the examples here. It's kind of like how I would recommend approaching implementing AI. With everything else, I'm sure it's not going to go as a surprise. It's a huge change, obviously, for the institution. Starting small with pilots is super important. And the smaller it is, then the more contained it is, then the easier it is to manage risks, expectations, and being able to demonstrate impact, right? Because that would become the guinea pig, as we call it, to go on and essentially make this an ambassador for different parts of the whole institution. The second one is about focusing on solutions that address specific pain points. This is a really big one. You know, like I mentioned, I have a newsletter in AI, and I just write about it basically on a daily basis. So I see all these news coming out, all these fancy, crazy, awesome solutions, and by now probably there's over 1 million AI tools out there, and it's just getting more and more and more, right? It's just there's no stopping to how many AI tools actually are out there, right? So it's quite overwhelming, and it could be very easily forgotten to start from the problem, right? Instead of like trying to match a solution to a problem. So this is a very important one that I always work with my clients to make sure that, hey, I know these are all these fancy tools are out there and they're super exciting, but what does actually solve the problem for you? Because that's more important. So really, it's important to identify these key challenges and to see like what it might be student outcomes, streamlining operations, are we enhancing the learning experience? Like what are we doing? Like what are the objectives that are out there? And then let's work top down to figure out what are the best solutions, right? So I do run like workshops and then I kind of like guide through the process specifically with my clients. I kind of can map the whole workflows end to end and kind of like help them figure out what are the best solutions that you can go ahead and start to apply. And I think it's very also important to involve IT as early as possible because at the end of the day, whatever you do with AI, it needs to be integrated to your IT infrastructure. So it's very important for them to be involved as early as possible. And having AI specialists like myself to help you out throughout the process, because I've seen the past cases where institutions, they were like clients, they want to like go ahead and apply AI. They just go, oh, we just want a chatbot, and then it got out of hand and complete the whole budget was blown out of proportion, and then they just needed something much smaller and like simpler in a sense. And in some cases, actually a chatbot actually was not the best solution for them to start with, right? So it's very important to work with specialists to come in and help you out throughout the process, especially as you're starting out. So starting small in pilot programs, like I said, small scale to test the feasibility. A lot of the cases, what happens is the technology is just not there yet, right? So AI right now is really good, for example, when it comes to chatbot, as I'm pretty sure that you all have experience like using different chatbots out there. But in a lot of domains, especially like mission critical domains, AIs are not that good. Or like in domains that, you can't be wrong. Imagine an AI is going to predict cancer, right? So AI cannot be wrong essentially because the cost is the cost of life of a human, right? So it's very important to do the feasibility analysis to understand, okay, how advanced AI is there at this point, and then what do we need to be at the minimum in order for us to, cover our basis, right? So it's very important to run a feasibility analysis up front. Like I talk about specific problem, a million of problems we can solve for, but like starting with a specific problem, that the pain point that you have in operations. And the feedback itself is extremely important. Like I mentioned, the AI bedrock is founded on continuous feedback, right? So that includes feedback to the model from participants. So all the way feedback, that's very, very important. It's not just building it and launching it and that's it. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, but for example, ChatGPT, a while ago, they were going through this, like it was not giving really good answers. It was like a bunch of like random answers and it was not great. And it's called AI, it's called the model drift, right? So that what happens is that the data becomes stale, right? Because they don't retrain the data. And if you don't retrain your AI model, it's going to get stale and then the quality is going to go down and down and down. So it's very important to construct that feedback loop to make sure that you first off have fresh training data, keep training the model, incorporating feedback, right? That's super important. And then the last part is about, obviously, like I mentioned, using this like a guinea pig to advocate for other parts and bigger initiatives, right? Look here. Okay. So this one is about collaboration and addressing pain points. I once was at I was on site helping one of my clients, and it was a room of 10 people. And like we had folks, we had it was like a mid-sized cybersecurity company and mission critical, like government level. And like in the room, we had the CTO, we had the CFO, we had the CEO, and then a bunch of managers. And what happened was when I went to the workshop to run this session to help them identify what's the best solution, essentially, I just realized that the first almost hour, we had to spend time just to make sure that they're like level set in terms of like their understanding of AI and make sure that the collaboration is happening throughout the whole process. A lot of them, they had great ideas about what AI could do for them, right? Just like bringing folks together and collaborating, right? And not making decisions in silo and making people part of the process, extremely important, especially for like larger organizations where you have a lot of stakeholders and, you need to make sure that, we get buy-in from everybody throughout the whole process. Let's see here. Yeah. So this one could start from what's the faculty's pain points, right? Instructors' challenges when it comes to like AI. But how can AI can come in and help? So it's really understanding like the faculty's pain point as a starting point. IT, like I mentioned, and tech support, collaborate with AI experts, and then align the solutions with institutional goals, right? So a lot of the cases, what happens is for this solutions that I've seen, the budgets, they're not organization-wide. So what happens is maybe a department, they have a small budget to run a small pilot, let's say for an AI tool, right? So it's very important to use that. And once we get results from leveraging something like simple and, easy when it comes to an AI solution, like a pilot, and to take that to the leadership, be like, okay, well, here's what they did at this scale, and this is the results that they've done. Let's put this in the budget for the next cycle so we can get the money in, right? So if there's no top-down alignment essentially from the organization, right? So that's very important to bring up as well. Now, some of the challenges and ethical consideration. I mean, I'm a student myself and I always thought about it too. So first off is privacy and security. So this is really about some of the key things that are not sexy when it comes to AI, but they're extremely important. The first one is the security itself, right? So a lot of these models that are out there, AI solutions, they're proprietary models, right? So what that means is that they own your data, they own your students' data, and for a lot of organizations, they might not want that, right? They want to kind of like hold their data because of all the privacy issues and insecurities, right? So it's very important when it comes to leveraging the right AI model to understand, what kind of access control and privacy and security control do we have over our data, because we just don't want to pass them in and kind of like for them to own our data. There's a lot of lawsuits going on right now. Like for example, today I just saw New York Times sued one of his AI company, Perplexity, I think, because they used their data. right? So it's very important to make sure that the data privacy and security is in place and the right model is chosen. The other one's about the bias itself. Really like that's a huge one, because AI and technologies, these transformers technologies, the way they work is that they're the best based on what they've been trained on. So if they've been trained on biased data, they're going to be biased, right? Not sure if you guys remember, but a while ago, Google's Gemini chatbot, they were asking, you would query it, hey, what are the who are the founding fathers of the United States? And then he just printed an indigenous lady, an African American guy, right? So it was, you know, these are all the real-time issues that Google had to pull this back, and it's a huge, huge you know, PR hit for them to get this. So it's very important that when you leverage AI, the bias is not introduced into the training data for the AI models. And obviously, last one, this is really huge. Responsible AI when it comes to transparency and explainability. So AI, as we talk, I mean, AI is a very broad term, but neural networks, which is what's behind something like ChatGPT, is a black box. Even the people who designed this thing, they don't know how it's producing the outcome, right? It's nobody knows how it's doing it, right? So really, it's important to understand for you the solution that you want to develop for yourself, how important is explainability, and depending on how important that is to model to be able to tell you, hey, this is how I came up with my answer, let's say for his chatbot. Then you may want to choose different technology when it comes to it. There's different models you can leverage when it comes to AI, different approaches, different modalities. So depending on what your requirements and boundaries are, then it's very important for you to pick the right model to make sure it is explainable if it needs to be explainable, right? For example, if it's like a grading system AI that's going to come in and help grade, you really want it to tell you why it graded the student A and the other student A minus. It's very important because I want to know why I got an A minus, right? So for that model, maybe a neural network might not be the best solution. Maybe a simple machine learning random forest or just you know, something like that would be a better approach, right? So these are again some of the nuances that are extremely important to consider when it comes to AI, and kind of like making sure that it's aligned with the overall organization goals and kind of all the policies involved, especially for a university. And with that, I think that's it for my slides. I think I'm making good time. So in conclusion, first, we talk about the possibilities, obviously. And by the way, I'm really a big believer in these vision pros. I do believe probably in less than 5 years, we're not going to have our laptops and probably going to have one of these goggles as our laptops and potentially learning through them, very immersive AR and VR technologies. So the possibilities are huge. It's there. It's not going anywhere. And my thoughts are always like the best way to deal with it is to embrace it, because that's just the way things work, right? And we don't want to be, I don't know, we don't want to be left behind in any sense, right? So super exciting potentials that it has throughout the whole, you know, educational process from beginning to the end. That I mentioned a few use cases, right? And really like talking about starting small and you know, some simple chatbots or anything very, very basic to go about. Again, I don't know to what extent you guys leveraging AI at this point. I don't know the background is. I actually have no idea on that, but I think it's very important to you know, start small and start actually solving a real problem and go from there, right? So those were my slides. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So now it's QA time. I don't know how you want to handle it, side. Just like questions in the chat bot you want me to go through, or how do you want me to handle that?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Cyrus, for the insightful presentation. I mean, we really appreciate it. So I would like first to open the floor to my colleagues. If anyone has a question, please feel free to unmute the mic and you can ask the question directly.
So, Cyrus, just to start with, yeah, do you think there are any playing grounds to test the waters, like some AI tools that we could test ourselves?
Um, I would say probably, so you're asking what's the best starting point? Is that how I understand it?
Yeah, and with some tools that we could explore ourselves.
Yeah, I would say probably the best place to start would be really like going back and understanding um, what is it that we're trying to solve? What kind of problems and pain points do we have that we want to solve, right? Because the solutions are endless, and there are like many, many different solutions that are out there that you could leverage for different purposes, depending on like what you're trying to achieve. So the way I usually work with my clients is that we really go in, we talk about like top 3 challenges, right, that we're facing. For example, our students, they're not the passing scores, they're not good, or the students are not engaged, or whatever the problem is, right? And then really trying to like stack rank them to be like, okay, top 3 problems, how painful they are for us as an institution, and then how frequently are they happening for us. So once we have that, actually, I have a framework I can, it's a full-on framework I have that's actually public. I can share with you guys. I'm actually trying to pull this up if I can. I have a full-on framework that I kind of go through with my clients, and we essentially, let me try to pull this up, right spots. Yeah, I need to look for it. Let's see. But it's exactly to what you're talking about. It's exactly to what you're asking in terms of like where should we start, and there you go, 5 pillars right here. Okay, it doesn't come right away in this platform. I'm a freelancer on this platform, and it is not showing to me right now. But essentially, you start with those challenges, you stack rank them, and then you start to figure out, okay, in terms of let's take an example, like right now, like in your case, what would be some of the biggest challenges that you guys are facing when it comes to the whole process of, education? Is it more operations? Is it more like a student outcome? Is it more like, what would you say like is the like a biggest pain point?
I think I'll open the floor for the other.
Yeah, I
lecturers
think
as well.
before I have few questions. There is a question in the chat. So the question is, can you please give names of the actual AI application or tools that we may use as faculty members or as instructors?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely like share a list in an email. That, like I said, the tools are like really like there's a lot of them out there. It's really important to um, understand, like you mentioned, like what would be the problem you're trying to solve. If it's about the problem is about getting some help with grading the exams, the problem is about the curriculum design. Is it the problem is about, hey, the admin are really burdened with a lot of work. How can you leverage AI to make them more efficient? So it's really important to understand what those pain points are. And then from there, there's like a plethora of different tools that are out there that can actually help us. And in the process of going ahead and using a tool, it's very important to understand how they're using your data. For example, ChatGPT is a proprietary platform. What that means is that whatever you put into it, they can basically take that data and train their models on it. So if it's a sensitive information, you definitely want to make sure that you're not giving sensitive information to it, right? So that's like what I really would caution at the very kind of like beginning point of it, right? When it comes to using these AI tools, right? The typical situation that I go and work with my clients is that we usually start off with, leveraging like a third-party available tool off the shelf. Like, for example, like we will fine-tune, like, for example, the website's content into a chatbot. So, for example, I'm a student. I don't want to go ahead and like navigate through the whole website. We can fine-tune a chatbot, and a student can just basically chat, hey, what's the latest information on this scholarship, or like what that information, where do I go for this course content? So you can just have a simple chat bot. That's a very simple solution. And then from there, once you have it in place, then and kind of like it shows some results, then we can go ahead and start to build infrastructure in-house to build other applications ourselves, right? And that's kind of like usually the institution-wide would go through. I have not seen a lot of cases where bigger organizations would use these third-party tools broadly because, like I mentioned, because of data and privacy concerns. When it comes to scaling the solutions, they bring it in-house and they train their own models in-house and they have their own team in-house because they want to own and host their own data, right? So this is like a long-winded way to answer the question, but I can certainly like recommend a few tools if I understand what the problems are.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, I have a question for you that as teachers here at the university, we concern a lot about at-risk students. So, you know, the students that they may face difficulties or problems either at their home or maybe during the class. So how the AI can help the teachers to discover these students at early stages. So we don't need like to wait until students they receive warnings from university and then they will end up by just changing the university or dropping from that program. So as a consultant, as an expert, how you could maybe give some tips about that to teachers, how we can employ the AI. And I know naming tools as an AI expert or consultant, you would be avoiding because I know that from ethics point of view, security and privacy issues that I totally understand. But from your, I would say, I would say from your point of view, if you can maybe guide for some tips or mention something, that's really would be highly appreciated.
So if I understand the question correctly, say is that how can we kind of predictively get insights into a risk of a student dropping out from the school? Is that correct?
For example, yeah.
Yeah. So in that case, so what needs to happen is that you would want to kind of like start to give signals into what are those signals that are leading that are kind of like leading causes for a student likely to drop out. So I don't know how the curriculum is designed, but for example, if there's like frequent quizzes and attendance. So let's say attendance is one factor. How attentive is a student? And how are they doing at a quiz that are kind of like we're kind of conducting continuously, right? And essentially those would be like, let's say like two key factors that would be a leading indicator of this student might drop out or not. I'm assuming if somebody who's considering to drop out from university, they probably have low attendance rate and they're probably not doing great on their quizzes, right? So those are two assumptions that you know, we can likely make, and I think they're reasonable, right? So for that case, AI is primed for doing prediction analysis, right? So, and what AI can do essentially is to train that a simple, very simple, like a random forest model, and essentially some criteria, like we talk about it, and then feed it, train it on past student data. Let's say you have data for 6 months, and in this 6 months you have X number of students, let's say 1,000 students, and out of those 1,000 students, I'm just making these numbers up. Let's say 100 of them, right? 10% would drop out. Then we look at those dropouts and we analyze, okay, how are the attendance for the students, and are they attending? Are they attending like to what level, right? So we need to kind of like do a normal distribution of that. And then from there, we want to understand, okay, how are they doing the quizzes before they dropped out? We also do the same normal distribution. And once we do that, we kind of like can do a cause and effect analysis to see, is it actually, are these two factors contributing to students dropping out from university? If that's the case, that's great. So we take the data that we have for the past 6 months for 1,000 students, and we train, let's say, something like PyTorch is a Python library, and then there's a lot of different libraries that are kind of pre-built for something like this. And then you would train this AI models that are kind of like, let's say, on a library like PyTorch, and then you would kind of like give it the criteria on how we kind of like will go about and predicting a student's risk of dropping out. And out of that, you would probably, like the way it works, you would give 80%, right, would train it, and then 20% validation. So let's say out of 1,000 student data, you would give it 80% of it to train the model, and then with 20% you validate the model. So kind of like you quiz the model in a sense to see if it understands it, right? Once the model understands it, then it's going to go ahead and come up with either an output of like likely and unlikely for student to drop out, or it could give a scale of like 0 to 100%, right? So it could really like be like tuned in however you want the output to be, whatever like that is kind of like more useful for your case, right? To either scale or just a simple yes or no, right? So this is usually like how I would approach a problem like this, right? For kind of like predicting, but this has been around for a long time. Once I worked with one of my clients, and it was like a machine learning model that was going through the credit card statements, and essentially it would guess if the expense on the credit card are eligible for some tax benefits in the US. And so this was like a similar example in the sense that the team was doing it manually at the time, and it was like taking them like hundreds of hours every week just to go to the credit card statement and then yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. But the AI that we built essentially went in and almost like automated 90% of the work, and the team kind of like could go ahead and do something else, right? So this is a very classic use case of AI, I would say, what you're saying.
Yeah. Actually, we have Cyrus, we have a lot of the question in the chat. So just to save the time and the things, and really, I hope that I will have those questions. Like, from Dr. Lena, she said the AI is very good for tutoring the students, and I agree with her. Help us as a professor to create content, to grade, and actually now this is implemented even in our LMS in the new version, and even identifying student address. But there is a concern on issues about how the students are using the AI for essays, assignments. And actually, I want to share something that sometimes like misusing the AI can reduce the comprehension of the student. We don't want to deny that fact. So to link the questions here in the chat, so what we need to reform the pedagogy and to go, like overcome this issue. The other question, which is really related to that, is should we include AI in the curriculum for different professions like medicine? So I think those questions are tied together. So how we can best utilize the AI to the student without turning the comprehension, without like even neglecting the factor of plagiarism and authentic work. So how we can align this all together?
That's a big topic, man. It's a big topic, and it's real. It's real, and I think my thoughts are first just education on kind of like the academic integrity. Like if you come into university, if you're getting a degree, let's say if there's no integrity in kind of like you doing the authentic work yourself, you're hurting yourself. So imagine I go to university, and then let's say would we use these AI tools to pass, would I get a job? I'm not sure. You know what I mean? So it's like just really like letting know these are potentials if you're not really leveraging yourself and like letting AI hijack your brain in terms of high level thinking, it could easily be used in that way. So I feel like it's very important to kind of like acknowledge as profs, be like, hey, we know it's happening, we know it's capable, but this is what differentiates humans with AIs, right? So that's like something that's like I would say at the top level needs to happen. The other case that I would think of is about really like redesigning the assessments, right? Like for example, if you were to incorporate some visual interactive elements that AI can easily replicate, so it can actually confirm that the work was done by the students itself, right? So could be also like, we can ask students to upload their work progress. Hey, show me your early drafts of the work that you did, not just the final answer. That's like another way that you can make sure that they're actually doing the work, because AI would just give them the answer, right? So just like maybe like those are some of the kind of like way we can redesign the assessment itself. The other part also we could do it from another angle is to the delivery kind of like of the assignment, right? So how can we make sure that, you know, it's in a way, do we need to have a final exam, or can we just like implement some frequent shorter assessments throughout the process, you know, instead of like having one big exam, for example, in that sense, right? And so yeah, so like I'd say those are a couple of ones, and like really like it happens across industries. Like it's not just students, it happens for professionals too, right? For developers. I'm a programmer myself. I built an app last week, and 80% of it was AI, right? I did it because I could do it by myself manually, right? But imagine if I was a junior developer, like letting AI code my application, it would just be really helpful because I would not really be learning. Right now, I'm saving time, being more efficient. But as a student and somebody who's junior, you really want to do the problem solving thinking in the process, right? So really like kind of like bringing that front and center and kind of like making sure that, hey, this is what separates us from AI in a sense, how we can kind of like work together as opposed to us giving our work to the AI. I feel like it would kind of like go a long way because like overall at the end of the day, um, it is happening, and you know the encouragement of that integrity into the process and us acknowledging the power of AI and what it's doing, it's really gonna like make a difference.
Yeah, I think just want to elaborate more that because we have also some couple of questions, just, you know, the way
Sure.
assessment now is just kind of, we change how we do the authentic assessment for our students and how we let them explain. And even I think the most important thing is how we incorporate AI in the curriculums and as well give a solid guide for the student how to utilize it, not leave them lagging behind the technology as well. Now, there's a couple of questions here related to this as well, as I can see here. One of those about the academic integrity, redefinition of the academic integrity, which is a question as well. And at the beginning of, I missed one question sitting about how you get the percentage in your slide. So they are interested in how you get that percent and rate. In the beginning of your slide, you mentioned like rates like 73% of the student are, you know, utilizing AI to achieve their learning outcome. And there are many couple of questions like other questions. So I think with the time limitation, because almost we are at the end. So what about redefining the academic integrity and how we cannot lag behind in our development as a teachers as well?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, we're unfortunately on top of the hour, and I do have like back-to-back meetings, but I can send you the slides, and there's like a references to all the articles I pulled up, and it shows you like, you know, all the kind of like references on where I got the stats from. So I can send it to you right after you know, this call, and then you can share it with the faculty, and then happy to ask any follow-up questions on that as well.
Yeah, so I think for just to mention this and leave the ground for you, Doctor, we will collect other questions and see what we didn't answer, and we can just return back to you by an email.
Yeah.
And now,
Yeah, so I mean, there is one point was raised by one of our colleagues about the academic integrity. We redefine, what do we mean by academic integrity? As you know now, most of the journal portals, when you submit your article, they will ask you, if you use ChatGPT, for example, to mention where and why and how you use it. So, you know, I mean, the problem nowadays, many of the journals, they cannot use the existing tools to cover or discover the AI-generated text because it's not that much accurate. So they cannot say this text is AI-generated, you know. But I think that's really a big domain. So I think the academic integrity in the future, or I would say in the near future, I think it should be redefined in some way. So finally, we really appreciate your time. We appreciate your presence and even your presentation. Thank you so much, and have a nice day. Thank you.
Yes. No, thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to come back for follow-up calls. We can do hands-on sessions as well if you want. This is like super short. I know it's kind of like high level, a lot of questions, which is normal. So I'm happy to come back and like do like deep dives as well if you want. Yeah, really enjoyed the conversation and really good questions, right? So yeah, Thank you so much.